Hey guys, my name is JC and today we're back with Rionya Fire Dancer. The goal of this deck is to chain together instants and sorceries so we can make a clone army of a single creature to close out the game. If you enjoy how the deck plays out, then make sure to stop by the channel where we'll have a deck tech discussing all of the included cards as well as the overall strategy. Let's see if Rionya can strike hard and fast and set the world on fire. Okay guys, let's see who we're playing today. We have got Yidris, Maelstrom Wielder, we have Meren of Clan Toth, and we have another Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. So some pretty powerful commanders there, and we have a very unkeepable hand, so we're going to have to mulligan this. Second hand, not looking good again, so we're going to have to go down to 6. Okay, that's looking much better. Now we just have to decide what we bottom here. As much as I'd like to bottom a land, I do think we have to play it a little more safe, so I'm going to bottom Heat Shimmer. Because we really have to make sure we hit that third land drop to be able to cast our Professional Facebreaker. Yidris plays a land for turn, and now they cast the turn 1 Sol Ring. And they also follow that up with the Simic Signet. Okay, well that Yidris player has certainly had the great turn 1 start that a lot of EDH players dream of, and that is their turn 1 done. We draw a land for turn, so let's just play our mountain, and then we'll pass the turn. Yidris plays a Temple of Deceit for turn, that enters tap but allows them to scry 1. And they end the turn there. Meren plays a sack land for turn, but then they're just going to pass it over. Okay, well let's hope we don't see anything scary come down turn 2. Yidris plays a land for turn. And now they cast their commander, Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. Trample, and whenever Yidris Maelstrom Wielder deals combat damage to a player, as you cast spells from your hand this turn, they gain Cascade. And that is it from them. We draw another land for turn. So that makes us feel a little bad that we bottomed the Heat Shimmer, but sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. We'll play our land for turn. Now, normally I do like to hold back on Harmonic Prodigy because it is a very good card in this deck, but that Yidris player over there is starting to look pretty scary, so I have a feeling we will be able to keep it down, or at least hopefully so. But either way, that Yidris player might get off to too fast a start, so we have to make sure we don't fall too far behind. And that'll be our turn done. And actually, to make things easier, seeing as there are 2 Yidris players, I might refer to this one as Yidris 1, and this one here can be Yidris 2. Yidris 1 plays a land. Now, they were tapping and untapping mana, but it looks like they just want to pass the turn there, maybe to hold up some interaction. On the end step, Evolving Wilds does get sacrificed by the Meren player, and they put a basic swamp into play, and that's the end of the Yidris 1 player's turn. Meren plays a land, and it looks like they're just leaving it there as well. Hopefully, both of those players are holding up mana for the Yidris 2 player, especially because their spells are going to be able to cascade this turn. So hopefully if we can get some removal out of their hand, that's less removal coming towards our deck, which doesn't handle removal too well. Alright, so Yidris 2 moves straight to combat. They send the Yidris our way. We will take the damage. Let's see if we have any interaction from Yidris 1 and Meren. It looks like we don't, so Yidris goes through, and his ability triggers. Alright, well let's see what we're in for this turn. Hopefully nothing game ending. They start by casting a Mox Amber, which does cascade. Add 1 mana of any color among legendary creatures and planeswalkers you control. Now they cast a Cultivate, which cascades. And they cascade into a Preordain, scry 2, then draw a card. They cast that. That would normally help fix their cascades, but because they are casting the Cultivate straight after, that is going to shuffle their library. And they put a basic forest into play, and they put a mountain to hand. Now they play a Myriad Landscape tap for turn. And it looks like they let the rest of the mana float away, and they move to their end step, so that's their turn done. But it looks like Yidris 1 has a response on the end step. And they cast a Brain Freeze targeting us. So target player mills 3 cards. And that is going to copy 3 times. Well, let's just hope we don't lose our Underworld Breach, because this isn't actually a bad thing for our deck. We run quite a bit of recursion. So Mountain Roll, Expedite, that's okay. Deflecting Swat, we've got Fury of the Horde, so one of our extra combat spells. Jeska's Will, Seize the Spoils, Tectonic Giant, and the last one... Seize the Day, another extra combat spell, and a few draw spells, Tybalt's Trickery. So we didn't hit any of our recursion spells, which is really good. Hopefully this comes back to bite our opponent in the butt if we end up just drawing one of them. And Professional Facebreaker is going to help us dig a little deeper. We draw Cavern of Souls for turn. Well, that is nice to make our commander uncounterable. So we'll play that now. We'll name Human, and then we'll cast our Professional Facebreaker. Alright, now we're going to move to combat. We'll send Harmonic Prodigy over at Yidris 2. Smack them back, though definitely not as hard as they hit us. That triggers our Professional Facebreaker, so we're going to make a treasure token. And then we're just going to pass the turn there. Yidris 1 plays a land. And they start by cycling a Cloud of Fairies, so that's going to draw them a card. But it looks like that's it for them, unfortunately. Meren plays a land. And now they cast the good old Plague Crafter. When it ETBs, each player sacks a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. I am happy to see that because we need to take that Yidris out. Next turn could be very dangerous for them. We're going to sacrifice Harmonic Prodigy here. As much as I do love the Prodigy, we need a good clone creature out. And with what's in our hand at the moment, which is mostly lands, that's not going to help us. So that does buy us a little more time with the Yidris 2 player. And importantly, one of the cards that was milled, our Seize of the Day, we can actually cast for flashback for 3 mana. So we are set up to have a potentially explosive turn if everything goes our way. Yidris 2 plays a land. And they cast an Eye of the Storm. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, exile it, then that player copies each instant and sorcery exiled with Eye of the Storm. For each copy, the player may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. Well, I don't know if the Yidris player or the Yidris 2 player realizes that's going to be a very dangerous card with our deck. That's going to work very much in our favor. And that is their turn done. We draw Crash Through for turn. Alright, well let's start by playing our Mountain for turn. Now we're going to attempt to resolve our commander. That goes through. Now let's move to combat. Rionya triggers, targeting our Professional Facebreaker. Now we'll send 1 each at both the Yidris players. That triggers both our Professional Facebreakers. So we make 4 treasures from that. Now we're going to cast Ancestral Anger, targeting one of our Professional Facebreakers. That triggers Eye of the Storm. We draw another mountain. Now let's flash back our Seize of the Day. That also triggers Eye of the Storm. So we're going to cast Ancestral Anger and Seize the Day. And we draw another mountain. So let's move to our next combat step. Rionya triggers again. Now we're making quite the army of Professional Facebreakers. So let's spread them out. And this is going to generate us a lot of treasures. And I think our opponents realize that we're actually going to be able to take infinite combat steps here. So we have Yidris 1 that concedes. Our other opponents let the damage go through. So now we're making quite a lot of treasures here. That's already over double digits. So that's 16 treasures in total, which would have been more if we didn't have our other opponent concede. Now in our second main phase, we'll cast our Crash Through. That's going to trigger Eye of the Storm. And we are definitely going to cast all of these spells. Crash Through, Anger, Seize the Day. We draw Atsushi. We untap a creature, Ancestral Anger. Another land. Getting quite land flooded this game actually. And we trigger Rionya once again. Let's make even more Professional Facebreakers this time. Looks like we're making 10. And let's do the same thing again. Now even more Professional Facebreaker triggers go on the stack. And this is one of the incredible things about Professional Facebreaker as a card, is we can actually crack these treasures to exile the top card of our library to be able to cast more instants and sorceries. Because if it didn't have that ability, that second ability, which I'll show you guys just here, sack a treasure, exile the top card of your library, you may play that card this turn. We wouldn't have been able to actually win the game there, because we have no further instants and sorceries in our hand. We would have been in a very strong position to win the game, definitely, but we wouldn't have been able to take it out right there. So now we'll use Facebreaker's ability to sack a treasure. That's a land. Humble Defector. Let's keep going until we hit an instant or sorcery. Ruby Medallion. A land. Goldspan Dragon, which is meant to be Ancient Copper Dragon, but it wasn't available, unfortunately, on Magic Online at the moment. Just another Mana Rock. Where are our instants and sorceries? They're there somewhere. Another land. Stormkiln Artist. Spikefield Hazard. There we go. So we'll target the Yidris player. We'll cast Spikefield Hazard. Ancestral Anger. Targeting Rionya. Crash Through. And our extra combat step. We draw a land off that. An Ardent Elementalist. Spikefield Hazard resolves. Pings for 1 damage. Now we'll cast Stormkiln Artist. Now that Stormkiln Artist is currently a 39-2, so let's move to combat. We will target the Stormkiln Artist this time. That will make 15 Stormkiln Artists. And now we'll send them in to finish off our opponents. And I'm very thankful for our opponents actually sitting through this and watching it. I know the Yidris player in chat said he was having a good time watching all the shenanigans happen. So once again, thank you. This is what it's all about. Sometimes even when you don't win, you got to enjoy yourself with your opponents, because you're not going to win every game. And that is the game done. We knock our opponents down to -212 and -329. All right, let's go to the wrap up and discuss what happened. So I'll be the first to admit that that win was largely due to luck. There are a few key factors that contributed to that fast win, and if even one didn't occur, that game could have went very differently. First, there was that brain freeze that Yidris 1 cast targeting us. That helped to get our Seize the Day into our graveyard, which gave us access to an extra combat spell. Now, resolving even one extra combat spell in this deck can be incredibly dangerous. Secondly, there was that Plaguecrafter from Meren which killed our Harmonic Prodigy and Yidris. Now, if Yidris had survived, with their full grip in addition to all the mana that they had access to, they could have taken the game themselves, or at least set up their board state where they were able to do so. And lastly, and perhaps the most important factor, was Yidris 2 casting that Eye of the Storm. With our cantrips in hand, Professional Facebreaker on board, and our access to Seize the Day in our graveyard, it really was the perfect storm for us to be able to pop off and take the game. But that's just sometimes how Commander games go. You draw the perfect card or top deck the perfect answer, and as they say, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Well, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed seeing Rionya in action and just what the deck is capable of when you get really, really lucky. Until next time, guys.